Happy Memorial Day! It is Memorial Day. It is Monday the 27th, and we all have the day off today. So the guys are out fishing. Bella and I are home, and we've been going out to the garden to do some weeding. You know, now and again. It's pretty crazy, all the weeds out there, and the ground is so wet you can't use a hoe or anything, so we've been out there just pulling by hand as we can, and then we get tired and we go take a break. But I wanted to just walk you through the garden, show you the different varieties and how everything is progressing so far. So here is an overview of the garden, and you know, just from last week's video you can see there's some change. Definitely lots of weeds. I'm hoping the ground will dry out so we can at least run the tiller in between the rows to take care of the majority of it, and then we can lay down some straw to mulch it with. But I don't want to mulch it until the weeds are pretty well taken care of. At the end of each row we have some hot peppers, and right here, these three plants are our lemon spice jalapenos, and we are getting some blossoms on them. And you can see our cherry tomatoes. If you notice these bags, I'm using them as blossom bags so that I can save the seeds from these tomatoes, and they will be true. They won't have a chance to cross-pollinate. So you'll see some of the plants have these bags on them, and that's what that's about. But the cherry tomatoes are doing pretty well. And you may also notice these colorful tags on the tops of the cattle panels here, and I am using those as name tags for the plants, so I don't have to go, you know, digging around for the plant tag. They are hanging up. And each row has a different color for no other reason than I just wanted them to have different colors. But yeah, so that's been pretty helpful. And the tomatoes are all doing very well. We went through this morning and we pruned off the lower branches. We got them tied up to the cattle panels. And we also did spray with some neem oil because you can see somewhere in here, oops, here we go, right there, we are getting aphids. Our Dester tomatoes are looking really good, and these were ones that I was pretty excited about. I've been hearing good things about the Dester tomato for several years now, and it's one of those that I always mean to grow, but just, you know, for whatever reason, never got the seeds and never started them. But they're doing pretty well, and we've got some blossoms, so hopefully soon. And this one's got some aphids on it as well. Buggers. I'm climbing triple crop tomatoes. I've got a blossom bag on those ones too. They're doing really well. I've got two of those plants, and they both look very healthy, and they're growing pretty vigorously. And then at the end of these next two rows are early jalapeno plants, and I don't know why they're called early jalapeno. I don't know if a regular jalapeno would take longer, but these guys are they're growing pretty slowly. There's some blossoms, and I mean, they've got some good foliage, but nothing too impressive yet. And that Paul Robeson tomato plant that I accidentally decapitated is, it did put out some new growth. So there is hope after all for that little baby. And then luckily this other Paul Robeson that we have is going gangbusters. Tons of blossoms, just looking really good and healthy. Sometimes it's a good idea to plant more than one of a variety, just in case you have a little mishap like chopping off the head of the other one. This guy is a Kellogg's breakfast, and I almost wonder if we planted it too close to the edge of this cattle panel, because as you can see, it's trying to go off that way. So I'm gonna have to watch it and kind of guide it and get it tied up to the panels as best I can and direct it in the other direction. And this little Alma paprika plant is she's really trying to do something here. Lots of peppers and also putting out some new leaf growth. I think I need to get a cage or a stake for it because it is definitely laying on the ground, and I don't want to risk any of these peppers rotting. We've ended up with a total of 67 tomato plants in our garden this year. That number keeps increasing because I still had extras and I hated to see them go to waste, so I kept putting them back, putting more into the garden, adding more rows. So I don't know, do you want to see all of them, or should I just kind of pick and choose? I'm thinking for now I'm just going to pick and choose, but if you want me to go over every single variety that we're growing and the pros and cons, how it's doing, if they're struggling, any diseases, pests, you know, all that good stuff, just let me know and I will go over all of them. This little guy here is a Tabasco pepper, and from everything I've seen and heard about them, they get gargantuan and have a ton of peppers on them, where one family really doesn't need more than one plant. I've put in 3 plants. This guy is still very tiny, no blossoms, so we'll have to wait and see, but I know the boys would love if we could make our own Tabasco pepper sauce. There's also a little bit of excitement with the broccoli. This morning I noticed that we have our first, can you see that? Our first little head of broccoli forming in there. So I think that's the only one, but they're all looking pretty good and healthy, and so far no real bug damage. And then the kale, we harvested a bunch of it yesterday. I am going to be making some kale chips for the first time. I'm really excited about that. And we also harvested a bunch of our lettuce and made some lettuce wraps. And here are the onions. Onions are doing pretty good, especially considering I started these puppies from seed. And they were spindly little things when I put them in the ground. I was not very convinced that they were going to do much of anything, but they're doing great. I just threw down some more fertilizer this morning in between the row, as I know that onions are heavy nitrogen feeders, so hopefully that'll help. At the end of this row here, we've got a hot Portugal pepper. Ooh, windy. And it is loaded in flower buds, so I expect we will have a ton of peppers off of this guy. And our dwarf tomatoes are really doing quite well, save for this one right here. But this one has the largest tomatoes on it, so I bet you it is putting all of its energy into the tomatoes there. And once they're ripe, it'll probably start pushing in some new growth. But that one's got some pretty big tomatoes on it. And then look at this guy. Holy monster. That is a big tomato. Still waiting on it. I want to get the same tags that I have on the cattle panels on these tomato cages too, so I don't have to dig around and figure out what everything is. And in other super exciting garden news, our ground cherries sprouted. I tried to grow these several times indoors, starting them with the tomatoes and the peppers, and I could not get them to germinate at all. So I just threw a bunch of seeds in a blank spot of a row and waited, and then realized I had no idea what ground cherry sprouts looked like. And as you can see, there's lots of weeds coming up, and I was nervous to even pull any weeds because I didn't want to accidentally pull any of the ground cherries. But they've gotten bigger. I did some research, and that right there is a ground cherry. So I'll let these go just a little bit longer, and I figure the row of radishes and maybe even the lettuces are going to be finished up here soon, so I will then go ahead and transplant some of these guys, spread them out, let them get bigger and sprawl out where they have more space. The trellised beans, the pole beans, they are still growing. They're doing all right. They're putting off their next set of leaves here. These are the purple potted pole beans. We lost a couple of them to, I don't know if it was storms or birds or whatever. So I may replant a few, or I may just let these be enough. The other side has the Kentucky Wonder, and they are doing well as well. The green bush beans, I got other seed to replant where the missing contender green beans did not come up. I'm kind of second guessing whether I want to do that or not. I may actually just move some of the ground cherries over to this area and let them have it, but because I just think we're going to have enough beans. We're going to be swimming in beans. These ones are, let's see, which ones are these? These are the dragon tongue bush beans. And I mean, there's holes in them. I don't think they're getting eaten. I think that's from hail. We've had stupid storms. We're supposed to have an even worse one tomorrow. So that'll be fun. So we have those dragon tongue, and then we have the royal burgundy. And I think that's going to be plenty of green beans for our family. I've got two eggplants left. Well, altogether I only did 2 of them, and they're still in pots. They've still been growing just fine, just in these pots. We don't really eat a lot of eggplant, but I just think the plant itself is so beautiful that I kind of want to force myself to like eggplant. So right now I put the 2, there's one and there is the other right there in that little black pot. I think that's where I'm going to put them, just on the inside edge of the pole bean arched trellis. Another exciting addition are these Dickinson pumpkins. These are the only winter squash that we did this year, and typically we only use winter squash for pies, and these happen to be the same winter squash that Libby's uses for their canned pumpkins. So heck yeah, that's the one we want. And our summer squashes are coming along just fine. There was a female blossom that opened this morning on the yellow squash, but there's no male, so it's not going to get pollinated. But also the nasturtiums that I planted by seed in between each of the squashes have also come up. And I've never had much luck growing nasturtiums, so I am pretty happy to see those puppies pop up. But yeah, they're doing well. As you can see, I mean, the grass weeds are crazy. I just need this ground to dry up so we can really take care of it. And the cucamelons have started to send out tendrils, and these are such delicate little plants. It's pretty crazy. I don't know how much bigger the leaves are going to get as it grows, but it's like so delicate. But they're getting close to the cattle panel. I may put like some sticks or something for them to grab onto now, so that way they have something to encourage them upwards. And then these guys are national pickling cucumbers, and you can see that they are starting to grab onto the trellis and run up it as well. Looking good. We will be swamped in cucumbers soon enough, but that's good because we just opened up our last jar of pickles last night. And even with all the weeds, I just adore seeing all the little rows of fresh veggies doing their thing and growing. It's pretty windy out, but can you see the row of sunflowers? And then I don't know if you can see this row of zinnias. They're pretty taken over by weeds. Oh, dry up, ground, dry up. And lastly, I thought I'd show you what's going on with the potted plants over by the chicken coop. We first have this, another hot Portugal pepper with peppers on it. And then this black cherry tomato plant. We put some cages just around the pots to give it a little bit more support. And you can see, I mean, that guy is already to the top of the cage. Honestly, I don't think they're getting enough sun. As you can see how long the stem goes without branches, and that kind of tells me that it's reaching for sun and is not quite getting all that it needs. I'll watch it a little bit more. If we need to move it, we can move it. That's not a big deal. And the mystery tomato and the peppers that we planted the other day, that one does not look good. Like I've said a million times so far, we have had so much rain, it might just be getting drowned. But the other peppers and the strawberries are looking good. Potatoes, they're doing their thing, getting huge. I'm actually wondering if these, I think they were 15-gallon grow bags, if they're going to be big enough, because my gosh, the plants themselves are already like 3 times the height of the bags. But we do have some yellowing of the lower leaves, so maybe we'll be getting close to harvesting soon enough. I would bet it's still going to be like July that these are ready to go. But it's still really exciting, and I love seeing the lush greenness over here. Okay, so that is it for the garden this week. I do have some herbs out front. I don't think anyone really cares to see those, just the typical kitchen herbs. Let's see. Hopefully we survive the storm tomorrow. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll be safe and everything will be good. It's just been such a busy summer so far. Our oldest graduated from high school and we had family come in, and that was awesome. But it also took a lot of our energy away from doing things around the yard and in the garden. So we've got some catching up to do. But I hope you guys enjoyed seeing everything. If you have any questions, let me know. And other than that, I guess I will see you another time. Bye.